You know that person in your life who always has an excuse. They ray tired, they ray busy, maybe next time. They cancel plans, skip events, and somehow always end up back on their couch, and you might think they ray flaky, antisocial, or just making excuses, but here's what neuroscience actually shows. They ray not avoiding you. They ray protecting something most people don't even know they need. If you ray someone who genuinely gets more excited about a quiet Friday night at home than a crowded Friday night out, this is for you, because what society calls boring, psychology calls something profoundly different. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why staying home isn't the problem, going out might be. Let us start with the most misunderstood concept in personality psychology: how humans actually recharge. Extroverts, they gain energy from external stimulation. Their brains light up around people, noise, movement, chaos, social interaction doesn't drain them, it fuels them. But introverts and people who prefer solitude, they operate on a completely opposite system. Every conversation, every social obligation, even enjoyable ones, slowly depletes their cognitive resources, and home isn't just a preference, it's the only environment where their nervous system can actually recover. Psychologists call this optimal arousal theory. It says that every person has an ideal level of stimulation where they function best. Some people need high stimulation to feel alive. Parties, crowds, constant social input. Others need low stimulation to feel regulated, quiet spaces. Predictable routines, minimal sensory input. Neither is better or worse, they ray just different operating systems. And when you force a low stimulation person into high stimulation environments repeatedly, you ray not helping them grow. You ray just draining their battery faster than it can recharge. But introversion only explains part of the story. There is something deeper happening. For people who truly love staying home, it's about control, or more specifically, the desperate human need for environmental predictability when the world feels increasingly chaotic. Think about what happens when you leave your house. You encounter unpredictable variables constantly. Loud strangers on public transit, last-minute plan changes, small talk with people who ask how you are, but don't actually care about your answer. Traffic that ruins your timing, crowds that drain your patience. Every single one of these moments requires cognitive processing, emotional regulation, and social performance. Now think about home. You control the temperature, the lighting, the noise level, the social obligations. Which is none you control when you eat, when you rest, when you interact, when you disconnect. For people with anxiety disorders, sensory processing sensitivity, or trauma histories, that level of control isn't a luxury, it's survival. Their nervous systems are constantly scanning for threat, and home is the only place where the threat level drops low enough for them to actually exhale. The outside world isn't just uncomfortable, it's physiologically activating in ways that feel genuinely unsafe. Here is something most people don't know. Research from the Journal of Personality shows that people who enjoy solitude demonstrate higher levels of creativity, deeper self-reflection, and better complex problem solving. Staying home isn't doing nothing, it's where the best ideas are actually born. Not in a loud bar where you can hear yourself think, but in a quiet corner, with a book, or during a thought spiral at 2 in the morning. When your brain finally has space to process, some of the greatest artists, writers, scientists, and thinkers in history were people who preferred solitude, not because they hated humanity, but because their work required the kind of deep focus that only happens in silence. And let us be brutally honest about something society refuses to admit. We romanticize being out there, the influencer culture, the party photos, the live your best life performance. We've created this narrative that a good life is a visible life, that if you ray not documenting experiences and collecting memories and saying yes to everything, you ray somehow wasting your youth or missing out. But what if your best life is a documentary you've seen 3 times, some soup you made from scratch, and absolutely zero social obligations? That is not sad, that is not settling, that is self-awareness. That is knowing exactly what fills your cup, instead of performing what is supposed to fill it. Now here is where it gets complicated. Some people stay home for a much darker reason: social anxiety. That makes leaving feel like walking into a lion's den. Past trauma, that taught them the world isn't safe. Depression, that quietly whispers what's the point of going anywhere. When nothing feels good anyway, and for these people, home becomes both a refuge and a prison. It protects them from the pain of being out there, but it also traps them in isolation. That reinforces the very beliefs keeping them stuck. So it's crucial to ask yourself an honest question. Do you stay home because it genuinely fills you up? Or because leaving feels too overwhelmingly heavy, because one is peace, the other is avoidance, and knowing the difference changes everything. But for those who truly love staying home, who feel genuinely content in their own company, who can distinguish between solitude and loneliness, they ray not missing out, they ray just living differently. They find profound joy in small rituals most people rush past: the morning coffee routine, that's become a meditation. The favorite spot on the couch, that holds a decade of comfort, the way the afternoon light hits the room. At a certain angle, these aren't small meaningless things, they ray anchors, they ray the daily proof. That life doesn't have to be loud to be good. Psychologists call this low stimulation preference. These people don't need the external world to entertain them constantly, because their internal world is rich enough. They think deeply, they feel intensely, they notice details others miss, their minds are constantly processing, creating, connecting ideas in ways that require space and silence to fully develop. For them, staying home isn't about avoiding life. It's about having the bandwidth to actually experience it. Now let us talk about the guilt. Because if you raise someone who prefers staying home, you've probably been made to feel bad about it your entire life. Like something's wrong with you, like you need to be fixed, or pushed outside your comfort zone, but comfort zones aren't always prisons. Sometimes they lay foundations. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is honor what your nervous system actually needs, instead of forcing yourself to perform someone else's definition of a good time. So if you raise someone who turns down invitations without guilt, who feels genuinely happy on a solo Saturday, who would rather rewatch your comfort show for the 8th time than make new memories that require pants, you ray not broken, you ray not lazy, you ray not wasting your life, you ray just wired for depth over noise, for peace over performance, for internal richness over external validation, and in a world that's getting louder, faster, and more demanding every single day, that might be the sanest response possible. The people who love staying home aren't missing out on life, they ray just living it at a frequency most people are too distracted to hear. They ray choosing quality over quantity, presence over performance. And in a culture that has forgotten how to be still, that is not boring, that is revolutionary. If this resonated with something you've felt, but couldn't name, subscribe, because next, we ray exploring why some people feel emotionally exhausted after socializing. Even when they enjoyed it, that pattern reveals something about energy management most people never learn. The quiet ones aren't antisocial, they ray just playing a different game, and they ray winning.